What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Force of Will video. Today, I am your host, Nova, and as you can see, this is the long-awaited Lich deck. Now, if you've read the name of the video, you might be a little confused at this point, but let me tell you the reason why the Lich is up top is because, I said I was going to build the Lich deck, and it kind of does work, and I'll explain a little bit later why. Because this is actually the Lucifer deck. And the reason I ended up building the Lucifer deck is because I was like, you know what? I enjoy this game way, way, way too much. So this card is what drew me to the game. And I said, you know what? Screw it. Like, especially this right here. This right here is what drew me to the game. Like, the art is just phenomenal. And I said, screw it. Let's go for it. So I'm going to put this aside and let's go right through. I'm going to quickly just kind of go through things and kind of explain, hopefully at the same time, do a little bit of explanation. This is kind of my first deck building experience. So if you guys have suggestions or tips or things that I can improve, please let me know. And I'll tell you some of the things I don't like and some of the things I do like about this deck. So right off the top, Skeleton Horde. I have 4 of these cards. Whenever this card dies, it's a 400 resonator. It costs only 1 darkness mana. Whenever this card dies, you get a 100 Darkness Skeleton Resonator token on the field. So this card, basically, you get 2 for the use of 1, like 2 cards for 1. So I have 4 of these in the deck. Next is Patchwork Frankenstein. Now, the only reason I have this card is because I kind of follow a little bit of a build for the Lucifer deck, but I only have 2 of these cards in the deck. And one of the reasons why I only have 2 is because this card does not recover during the next phase. So if you get it early on, it's a good kind of sacrifice because it's got 1,000 attack and defense. So it's, from when I've been playing, it's been pretty good for just using it as a shield. But in terms of attacking, it's kind of a last minute resort. So I only have 2 of these ones. Oh, I would lie, I have 3. And the reason why I end up having 3 is because I can pull them back with the Corpse Sorcerer. Now, the Corpse Sorcerer might not seem like a lot for 600, but because it can pull back a target zombie with total cost of 2 or less when it enters the field, so basically as soon as you summon it, you're able to pull back a Corpse Sorcerer or any other zombie that is 2 darkness or less. And basically you play this one, bam. If the Patchwork Frankenstein is in the graveyard, boom. So you get, for the cost of 3, you get to summon 2 creatures basically, which is yet another reason why kind of the Frankenstein's kind of sticking around. So I only have, well, I guess I'll lie, I have 4 sorcerers. Now, the only thing I do find myself a lot is, while this card is nice, like the Corpse Sorcerer is nice, the more and more games I play, I'm finding myself, yes, it's a nice card. Yes, you get to summon zombies from the graveyard. But at the same time, it's like, I don't use it that much. Like, I'd use it, but there's better cards that I can play, and there's other things that I can do. So this one right here, the Corpse Sorcerer, if you guys have any suggestions where I can switch it out for, it'd be really nice. Now, keep in mind, I only have the current stuff, so kind of why I'm running what I'm running right now. Followed by 4 Looks of Corruption. Now, the Lucifer, and I kind of forgot to, so I should have probably done that, as once you flip him over, his ability is whenever he enters, your opponent discards 3 cards. When this card enters the field, perform the effect. So basically, the way this works is, this is pretty much like a discard deck, and that's kind of what helps me win a lot of the matches. It's just forcing the player to only have 1 card at a time, or like 2 or less cards in his hand. So he's basically forced to go turn after turn with only 1 card, which is why, and it only costs 1. That's the nice part, unless you use its Awakening. But in all honesty, like, you only ever want to use Awakening if you've used a Look of Corruption, you've taken a look at their hand, and you've seen that they have kind of, a big card in there. And then if you have another one in your hand, bam. So I have 4 of these. Next, for the cost of only 2 mana, you have Diseased Rat, which has Bane. This is basically your defense. You put these guys down, and then they're going to either sacrifice it or just, like, or That's basically it. If any creature that attacks this, dies instantly. You can attack with these cards, but highly recommended not to because of the 200 and because of the Bane. So most likely, if you're going to attack with 200, most players are going to be like, you know, I'll take the damage. I'll take the unless they're really low on health, they're just going to take the damage. So that's pretty much it. Okay, 3 of those next. Life Severing Blade. I have 4 of these. Like, if a resonator you control was put into the graveyard from the field this turn, you may pay 2 less for this card. So basically, for the cost of 1 darkness, you get to kill any attacking resonator. So if you don't have, like, if you're not defending with Disease Rat, then bam, 4 of these. Next, as I was kind of stating earlier, since this kind of this deck is sort of a, you know, discard deck, the next one is Azil, the Fallen Angel of Gloom. Now, this is a flying creature. It's 900 attack. It's 900 attack, 1000 defense. You may pay 2 less to play this card if your opponent has 1 or less cards in their hand. Like, the amount of times that I've kind of kept this in my hand and said, I'm only gonna play it when you have 2 or less cards. It's like, I mean, it's a pretty big card. It's almost as good as Frankenstein. I would say it's better because it can attack and defend almost every single turn, right? Like, it resets every turn, unlike Frankenstein, where you have to work basically every second turn you can reset it. So that's kind of unfortunate about that. And I have 4 of these. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of, like, if they don't discard enough cards, if they continuously gain cards, I'm kind of thinking of maybe dropping this down to maybe 3, maybe 2. The next card, which works well, synergizes really well with what I'm trying to go here with discarding, is Shemhaza, the Fallen Angel of Sadism. 1,000. It's a flying creature. Your opponent discards a card. One discard, basically, when you play this card, when it enters the field. As long as your opponent has 2 or less cards, this card gains plus 400. So this is a 1,400 card, potentially. And I have 3 of those. I'm tempted to say I want to switch. It might be a good idea to switch one of these for this one, the Zeal. So take one of the Zeals out and put another one of these in. I mean, yes, I know it's pretty expensive card. That's the only reason I'm running 3. It's because this is a 4. It doesn't have any way to lower its cost. Next is Oborozuki. This is a vampire. First, what I'm going to say here, as most likely you guys are probably going to guess, is the artwork on this card is just phenomenal. Now, I do realize this is the full art, but still, it is just fantastic. Enter. You may banish a resonator. If you do, put a fresh blood counter on this card. So the way I've been playing it is, you know what? I'm going to banish this guy. For example, the Skeleton Horde. Why? Because, bam, banish. This guy basically turns around and get a 100 resonator skeleton. You can banish that too, and then basically you add two fresh blood counters. But I guess not. You can't. You can only. It only says you put a fresh blood counter on it, so you can only put 1 fresh blood counter. So the way I've been playing it is I've only been putting 1 fresh blood counter, but I was kind of thinking. So I've been running 2 of these. The only reason I'm running 2, in all honesty, I have no idea what I'm running 2. I mean, the only reason I'm running 2 is because it's kind of like an 800 card. It's not one of the best ones, and you have to kind of banish something in order to have the full 800 effect. The next card that I really love is the Disgraced Knight. This card, the idea of this, you either discard it if you have any, basically through the churn. If you're discarding cards, or this guy just dies, you can summon him from the graveyard. And I have done that in a game where it's like, I've literally destroyed my entire graveyard. And okay, let me explain that first of all, sorry. You pay 1 darkness, remove 3 darkness cards in your graveyard from the game, put this card from your graveyard into the field, play this ability only during your only during your turn. So basically, I've been able to just summon him and basically destroy my entire graveyard with being able to summon this guy back over and over. And I've been running because he's only a cost of 3, and when he's in the graveyard, it's a cost of 1. I've been running 4 of these. Next one, and is Rain of Tears. You may put one. Okay, correction. You may pay one more for play this card from the ruin area. I don't have it in my ruin area. Put 3 -100 counters on the target resonator. This is nice. However, it does not affect the jail ruler. So it's kind of, I'm running 3 cards and I'm thinking maybe I can get away with 2. So we shall see. The last card, which is really, really nice, is Belial, the evil from the scriptures. It's a flying type, 1200 attack. Now this card is a lot. It costs a lot. It costs 6. However, if your life is 1,000 or less, you may pay 3 less to play this card. When it enters, destroy all non-fallen angel resonators. So if you have, like, for example, I have a bunch of these, and the way this card affects, it affects everything, including yourself. This also, like, it kills your own field as well, not just your enemy. So basically, if I have 4 corpse sorcerers, for example, in the field, and I play this card, all of these get destroyed. They go to the graveyard, and then this card deals 100 damage for each resonator that enters the graveyard. So I only run 2 of these because obvious reasons. It costs a lot, so it's kind of like a last resort. Or it's either a last resort card, or you are running it with oh shoot, I lost my train of thought here. Geez. So what I was saying, okay, this is kind of like a last resort card if you have 1,000 life or less, or you're basically gonna use it like mid-game. Like you need to have at least 6 stones turned in order to be able to use this card. So, iffy at best. It is a very good card. It has saved my butt numerous times. So that's like, I love that card. It is fantastic. However, I wouldn't recommend running more than 2 in your deck because it costs a lot. Next, let's go through the rune decks. The first card, which I really love, and it's a cost of 0. Your opponent discards a card at random. And now that I notice it, I'm kind of noticing Tears of the Fallen. I'm noticing the tears on the art, and it's just it makes the opponent cry every time when they have to discard a card. Let me be honest with you. Demon of the Vision. Search your deck for a card and put it in your hand, then shuffle your deck. Again, if you haven't picked up Belial, search your deck, you can pick up Belial. There's plenty of good cards. You can have a Life-Severing Blade. You can have a... What else could I... To be honest with you, I've only really played it on Belial, Life-Severing Blade. Luck of Corruption is a good one if I want to get rid, or if I want to like something cheap like this. If I know the opponent already has 2 cards, this is a good card. It's a summon, I mean. Okay, next we have Black Rosario. Play this card only if your jailer is Lucifer. Your opponent banishes 2 resonators. I haven't really used this card much simply because I really haven't had to. Like, it's pretty expensive, and it's not. It is and it isn't, but you know, it is what it is. It's nice to have. Jet Black Wings. Resonators your opponent controls get -600 until the end of turn. This is quite a beefy card for 3. I've literally managed to wipe out my opponent's entire field because, as for example, something like this, if you played this card, so if you play it over, this guy automatically goes to 0. When he goes to 0 health, he goes into the graveyard. Anything that is reduced to 0 health is automatically sent to the graveyard. Last card, Scythe of the Reaper. Destroy target resonator with total cost of 3 or less. Questionable. What I may want to do when I'm thinking about it is changing this card for the rune card that lets you destroy a target J resonator. However, the only reason I have not done it is because of Orozuki. If you awaken this card, when it enters, destroys all J rulers. Now, the only problem with this is that you have to play the awakening cost, which is 4 mana, plus her original 2 mana, so that's a total of 6 mana. It's quite a lot, but you know, it's doable. It's quite doable. Now, Magic Stones, since I'm only running basically, I've picked up the new Valhalla set, and that's all I have. I haven't got in touch with Master Fija yet, but so what I have are 2 stones here. Magic Stone of Corruption. I've only ever used these to produce, but it has a nice effect. If you turn it, basically you you use 2 darkness, banish your card. Your opponent discards a card. Play this ability only during the main timing. If you want to force your opponent to banish a card, that's quite nice. Second one, so I run 4 of these, 4 of these Magic Stone of the Undead. This can be useful. Put a top of your deck into the graveyard. Now, where this comes in helpful is with the knights. Where are the knights? These guys. Now, sometimes you can just play like really like, I've done it in the past where I've like said, okay, you know what, I'm just going to sacrifice, send something, the top card of my deck to the graveyard. And I've gotten lucky, really lucky, to where the top card was actually this card, and I was able to summon it. So again, quite nice. The other card, which is nice with stuff in the graveyard, is the Ezreal Fallen Angel. I forgot to read her second ability for enter. Choose one. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Put a card from among them in your hand and then the rest in the graveyard. Or target 2 resonators your opponent controls. Your opponent banishes one of them. So, like I said before, if your opponent controls 2 or less, has 2 or less cards in their hand, you basically summon this card for 2 darkness. When it enters, I usually like to look at the top 2 cards of my deck. Why? Because if I know that the top 2 cards of my deck are, for example, this guy, I'm gonna put one in my hand. I'm gonna put the other one in the graveyard. Or if this guy, I can probably put him in my hand, and then you guys kind of get the idea. There's kind of a lot of things you can do with this deck, but it's kind of cool. So I'm gonna bring this guy back into it. Now, the only issue with Lucifer is that his judgment costs 5. In order to be able to flip him. So his flip is really quite expensive. However, what I haven't really tried yet, but is maybe using Lich. Lich is a very beefy J ruler. Like, he's got 1200 defense, his attack does suck. However, he has Bane. So, as I've explained earlier, Bane is an instant one-shot, basically. The only thing that can get around Bane, and which is why I'm not really liking the Wraths. Let me find them again. Actually, I don't really need to, but anyways, one of the only reasons that I really don't like these Wraths is because Bane, you can actually get around it. If something has first strike, it will do the damage before you're able to defend, before your Resonator is able to do any damage back. So basically, if I do first strike for 400 damage, bam, this card is dead, it's out, Bane does not activate. And that's the only issue with Lich. So that's kind of why I ended up going more towards the Lucifer for my J ruler. Why? Because at any time, if I have, yes, it's kind of like mid-game, because it seems like most games I've played kind of last maybe 7 turns, like for the entire match. So a lot of times, this is kind of like a last resort. If you haven't been getting lucky with your cards and you discards and your opponent quite isn't where you want him to be, it's quite nice to be able to discard 3 cards from his hand. So again, kind of iffy, but it's so far so good. If you guys have any suggestions on, kind of what I can take out, I really feel, to be honest with you, like I can take out the Corpse Sorcerer. We can only summon something with 2 or less, and it can only summon a zombie. Like, Disgraced Knight, for example, is a zombie. However, it costs 3, so I cannot summon it. So the only thing I can really summon in my deck currently are Diseased Rats or Frankenstein. Like, in all honesty, I don't know. I really don't know. If you guys have any suggestions, like maybe I can take out the Corpse Sorcerers, maybe I can take out the Diseased Knights. I'm gonna put this guy back just so you guys can enjoy the art a little bit. But yeah, if you have any suggestions of what I can like switch out for those cards, please feel free to comment below on the video. Well, comment below. Yeah, let me look down for my monitor and you know what I mean. All right, guys, it's been kind of a little bit long. Oh, geez, this was already a 20-minute video. All right, thanks. If you guys made it to the end, cheers, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everybody.